do is just roll this last year's budget, showing no growth, and adjust our expenditures accordingly to stay in balance, and not put any major capital expenses or major capital projects into the budget. Just simply propose an operating budget, and then when and if we kind of get our sights on what actually may happen with our economy, and how our revenues are going to start coming in, and if some of this growth that we were anticipating is going to happen, some of our customer growth, then we can look at each of our projects and capital expenses as a group and make sure that we're on the same page about moving forward with them. So anything that we're not contractually obligated to at this point, I've basically, proposing that we table it until we know a little bit more about what we're headed into, and we go into a mode of protecting our cash. We're in a good financial position, especially in our general fund. Chris and I have had conversations about water and sewer. If we don't, get some of our customer growth, if our, usage is down, if people are unable to pay their bills, we could start to get a little tight there. But I think we're in a good position to maintain whatever we need to. And Chris, if you don't mind, kind of going over this year, this year's budget, how we're tracking, and your opinion on rolling the budget forward, and our ability to do that.
Yeah, for the 1920 budget, so far we are actually in pretty good shape, and that is due to some part that Mark put a spending freeze in place. We will have to do an amendment for it, but right now it's looking like the amendment will just cover the street light project that y'all approved, that was not originally budgeted. So look for that starting in for the May meeting, and it will follow the same timeline as the new budget as well. Our revenues are tracking right in line with our budget for the general fund. For the water and sewer, our consumption is down a little bit from what we expected, so our budgeted numbers are not quite, or the actual revenue numbers are not quite what was budgeted, but I don't foresee any major issues out of it. Like Mark said, the major issue I see out of the foreseeable future is a cash flow issue. So I'll be watching that extremely tight and paying attention to our sales tax to see if it takes any hit or if it jumps up a little bit. So for the general fund, as far as revenues, that's about the only change I'm anticipating. Of course, the property taxes are stable, so shouldn't see any issues there, but just with sales tax. Y'all have any questions or concerns?
I just have one little question. Before we have our first vote on this, would it be possible for me, Plain Jane, to get a paper copy of this budget?
Yeah, we can make sure and get you a paper copy.
I can't read it on the computer. My printer half the time doesn't work.
I can make sure one gets dropped off to you. And like Mark said, he's planning on just rolling the same numbers over, and I think that's a good idea. For right now, we just don't know what's going to happen. And, if we see that we're in good shape, we can start approving some capital items and just amend the budget when it comes time. But yeah, I'll make sure you get a paper copy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're working now to get our projections for the remainder of this year into our spreadsheet, and as soon as we have that, I can send that out, the 3-column budget that shows 18-19 actual, this year projected, and then next year's.
Okay, just before we vote is all.
Yes, ma'am. We'll get that out pretty quick.
Okay. When is our first vote on that?
May.
May?
We try to have our first vote at the regular meeting in May, our second vote at the regular meeting in June, and then a
June.
special called meeting at the end of June for our third and final reading.
Good.
The one major project that I can think of that I was going to include, but just in the last couple of days, thought that it would be best to propose that we go after a CDGB grant to fund the water filter plant rehabilitation. There's going to be an additional round of CDGB grants. I'm not sure what's going to be eligible with those projects at this point, but I know that there's another round coming up that I can apply for in February. I'm just scared to death to, dive into anything that is, sizable in any way until we really get a handle on what the future is going to look like and how long, whatever type of recession we're going to have is going to last. Predictions are all over the board. I'm constantly getting, new information and new analysis by, different experts in the field. And, the bottom line is nobody knows what's going to happen right now. And I just feel more comfortable if we take the approach of wait and see before we make any major decisions, and then make any major decision, together as a group and do it, one at a time with a budget amendment. Just make sure we don't overextend ourselves.
Well, as it stands now, and I know, like I said, it's early, but are you anticipating, if everything falls in place the way you think, anticipating a property tax raise?
No, I don't anticipate we'll need to raise property taxes.
Like that.
Like I said, we're in really, we're in a strong financial position going into this thing, especially in our general fund.
Yeah.
Little bit worried about if this thing were to last a long time and we didn't see, the customer growth that we were thinking we were going to see in water and sewer, and we, didn't get any of the, tap fee revenues and things of that nature in water and sewer, that could get tight. But I don't think that it's going to get so tight that it's nothing that we can't manage, just by pulling back. I just don't want to take on any major expenses, especially in water and sewer, until we know exactly what we're headed into, or feel like we've got a good idea anyway. But no, I don't anticipate ever suggesting a tax increase.
Like that.
Now, the county, some counties may be forced to, according to the report out of the comptroller's office, depending on sales tax revenues, because there's a maintenance of effort requirement for the schools, for public schools. And if sales tax revenues are short enough, then some counties, I don't know which ones or what ours may look like right now, but may be facing a tax increase that's forced. Hopefully that's not us. And hopefully it, doesn't fall off for as long of a time as what some think. But it's definitely a disruption like no one's ever seen.
Any more questions?
It sounds like it's a plan. So I think it's a good plan. And
I will say too that the mayor, I think, has a good plan for raises. That I've suggested that we don't, give raises July 1, but if at some point during the year we decide that we're comfortable and that we can, that we can implement the raises and then, you know, even backdate them to July 1 if we, you know, don't want people to lose out on anything. But as far as doing it with the turn of the budget, I would suggest that we don't do that.
We have done that before, Mark. Back through the years, we have did that before. When I was up here, chief up here, we did do that. It lasted about 2 months, retroactive back.
Yeah, I like that idea. You know, I think that, like I say, we've been talking to department heads each week and you know, preparing them for these type things that we're gonna you know, get really protective of our cash right now and not make any major purchases. And you know, the raises may not be implemented at the beginning of the year, and some of the things that we're normally doing in July may have to wait till April. You know, just some things like that. So I think everybody's pretty well prepared to do what we need to do to get through this without too much trouble. And of course, you know, as far as our revenues from now to the end of the year, if we find that they fall off, we won't start getting good sales tax data till probably, what, Chris, June, that really shows the impact of this thing.
Right, that is correct. So it's going to take a while.
And if something changes, you know, where we don't bring in as much revenue as we're anticipating, we'll you know, adjust our expenses accordingly.
Yeah, that's the plan. Is I'm going to really pay attention to our revenues for the next couple of months. And for like water and sewer, we have stopped charging late fees, so that's about a $1,500 a month hit right there for the foreseeable future. So I think it's really important to just pay close attention to the numbers, make sure that we're tracking where we need to be.
Just
Have
refresh.
sufficient. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask what is normally our largest source of sales tax?
Our largest source is usually Rex's is the biggest one, and that's why, you know, the sales tax for us, we may not see a change. We may actually see a bump in it because you know, places like Ace and Rex's have been booming while, you know, the restaurants have not. So it's going to be interesting to pay attention to them and see how it plays out.
United Telephone should be up because everybody's playing on the internet.
I do want to add just for a minute. We've talked a lot about what we're not going to do. Just for a minute, talk about what we are going to do with the money that's budgeted. You know, we're going to hit some specific projects, some maintenance projects. We're going to do a lot of cleaning and fixing, and you know, some of the things that we can do maintenance wise. We're going to you know, be fixing our potholes here before too long. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to you know, start on the project that we talked about the last time we met, with you know, cleaning some silt out of some ditches and things of that nature. So we'll be you know, doing a lot of maintenance, you know, that sometimes we don't get to when things are up and running as normal. But those are the things that we are going to be doing. We've got you know, people assigned to, you know, specific things, and hopefully we'll get to catch up on some of those things we've been wanting to do for a while.
Mark, this is Mike. Are we also still planning on doing the bump upgrade behind the diner there?
Yes, we're well, of course we've got our new pump. One thing that we will be doing is building some kind of pad to set our new pump on, to make sure that it, you know, gets above where it may get flooded, so that it's not sitting down so low. And we've actually had our first load of rock delivered there the other day, where we're going to do some cleaning out in the pond and the ditch leading up to the highway itself, and put some riprap in there so that to stop that erosion. We have options even with that mobile pump to put a float on it so that it comes on automatically if we want it to. So yes, we are going to be making some of those improvements to the pond, and we're going to be looking at the project that we've talked about, putting an additional line that gets out to the leading toward the creek to be able to move more water faster. And then back in some of the areas where people have contacted us, and maybe a couple more, we went around and gathered a list this week of some different ditches that may be built up with silt, and we'll put a plan together which ones we're going to hit. And I can get that to you once we put the plan together of kind of where we're going to hit first and how that will flow.
I just wanted to say, this is kind of off that subject, but the landscaping looks good out at Depot Park when we've been out to walk.
We've got a few positive comments on the landscaping. I'm happy with the way things are looking right now, I've got some people, citizens, board members, employees, volunteering to do a lot of things right now because they're looking for things to do. I had one employee volunteer to go out and clean the bathrooms at the park every day, and we've got I don't know if Brian is on here with us, but I don't see him anywhere. But he's been out cleaned the inside of the caboose out there at the park. So got people looking for ways to help us right now.
It was Jackie that was cleaning the bathrooms.
They need to be clean.
Don't give us any details. You did that one time. That was great.
I went behind the printer and used it.
I also just put out on Facebook, the governor laid out today, kind of the plan for reopening some things May 1st. And, basically it's that most businesses will be allowed to reopen, but not much else changes as far as the rules and recommendations for gatherings and social distancing and things of that nature. Schools are to remain closed. No gatherings more than 10 people. Everybody's still supposed to be 6 feet apart. Only so many people in buildings. So I don't anticipate that the way we're doing things will change anytime soon, other than the businesses that have been forced to be closed will get to open back up.
So town hall will be open.
Town hall will remain closed except by appointment. We'll start taking appointments. I still can't, have any kind of gathering, any kind of public meeting. It's still recommended that if you don't have to have contact with people or each other or the public, that you don't. Like I say, the only change is that come out of the state recommendations today is that businesses that have been forced to close can reopen. But there's no changes.
But don't have to.
They can, but don't have to. But there's no changes whatsoever to the rules and recommendations as far as social distancing, other than I think the stay-at-home order is being lifted, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm old. They still make me stay home until the last phase. I think I can get out.
But I think probably at least through June, you know, we're going to be looking at no public gatherings of more than 10 people. Possibly longer than that, but I'd say at least through June. You know, I'm hearing, I know that the state has already canceled a conference that I was scheduled to go to in July. But I also, you know, have heard that, you know, some of the major sports activities and things of that nature are looking at some kind of soft reopening in July, but we'll just kind of have to play it by ear.
Well, I don't, I guess I'm playing the devil's advocate again. And last time, you know, I asked you about the drive-through, and you had the perfect answer. It was, you know, perfectly, I mean, you were right. But now that the governor is, you know, allowing things to open, and he certainly knows more than I do, and you certainly know more than I do, but being a public entity, don't we kind of owe it to the public to give them a little more access?
I think we do. We owe it to everybody to give as much as we can. That's why we're going to start. You know, anybody that feels that it's necessary to, you know, come to us can make an appointment and come in here. But you know, with the ability to drop a payment in a Dropbox, there's really just no. I mean, you don't gain anything by making that contact at the drive-through other than to get to wave and smile at somebody.
Well,
you know,
I get that, and except that, you know, like I said, I'm just being a witch. I still kind of think that public utilities owe something, or town municipalities owe something to the, you know, the taxpayers, that, you know, that they can have more access. But that's just me, and I'm not gonna say any more about it. I'll be quiet about it now. Thank you.
I mean, I agree with you, Dottie, and I think that you know, we continue to try to give access, especially to information, in as many ways as we can. You know, the only thing that we're trying to not do is come in contact with people.
But well, I thank you. Anytime I've had a question or anything, you have certainly been accessible to me, and I feel certain that you are to everybody else. I just kind of thinking about the image, which
I agree.
doesn't make a hill of beans when you're talking about life. So,
Hey, Mark, have we completely moved? Have we moved now to town hall? Is it done moving down there?
We have moved, and we put signs up this morning at the other facility saying, if you've landed here, head down the road.
So you got signs at both places where they go. They tell them where to go and tell them where it is.
That's correct, and we put out a little information on Facebook today, and we were kind of waiting to make sure that we were able to get completely moved. It took us a couple of days to get some of our technical stuff figured out, up and running. You know, thankfully Chris and Chief Kahn finished this up yesterday, getting everything in here up and running.
As far as the court system, is it going there too, the traffic?
No, it'll stay where it's at currently.
Thank you.
I have one just nosy question, I guess. Do we know, I know we can't hear different people. Do we have more in our general area? I know there's 11 now listed in Marshall County. Are those broken down into municipalities by any chance?
You know,
Cases.
I don't have any more information than y'all do on that kind of stuff. You know, I'm not sure what kind of information we could get, you know, from the health department. I know Bedford County's, you know, really, you know, taking a hit lately. Their numbers seem to be climbing pretty good. So,
And lots of that has to do with testing. The more testing, the more asymptomatic you find.
Correct. Yeah. Once again, it's kind of like the economic stuff. We're just at a point right now where we just don't, we're kind of in the dark on a lot of things. We just don't know. So, our focus has been on making sure that we're maintaining our services as best we can, and making sure that we try to take care of each other and not get sick, so that we don't drop off and have to be out for a couple of weeks, and then just kind of playing it day by day. It's just strange times.
I think it's like the flu test that we've had in the past. They come back, you didn't have the flu, but you had the same symptoms, but they fed you the Tamiflu, whatever it was, you had to take for that. And I'm thinking we get a lot of false tests myself on this test here too. That's saying that you got it or you ain't got it. I think a lot of them are false tests. I know some people that said they had it, they had no symptoms, and they're back to work and everything else, but they stayed at home for those 2 weeks, whatever it was. So I think we got some false tests myself. Now, that's my opinion. Everybody's got one.
Right now, there's 11 cases in Marshall County. There was 24, but I think there's 11 of them that's good, so that leaves you about 11 or 12 is still active.
Are there any more questions on our budget? We've got the codes meeting scheduled for 5:30, which is coming up. I see Todd's joined us here. If there's no questions or comments on what we're going to do with the budget, I'll just plan on getting that 3-column budget out to you as soon as possible before our next meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We good?
We're good.
I think we're good. Let me see. All right,
We're good.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And we got, I see where Chad has joined us. We got Todd. So I think we're ready to begin our second meeting concerning codes, if everyone else is okay with that. And I've asked Todd to be prepared to talk specifically about aesthetics. I know that, Marion's got a couple of things that she may want to share with us today. Dottie probably has some things that she wants to share with us today, but, Chad's probably got some things that he wants to share with us. But one of the things that's brought this up, I know, is a couple properties that are here that don't fit what I interpret, to be a violation of the local codes. And I think we would struggle to say that, they would meet any violation of codes under Tennessee law unless we stretched it pretty good. And the reason being is because codes are typically the backbone of that law typically relies on you having some kind of health or safety issue. And there's not a lot outside of junkyards and junk vehicles. There's not a lot that's been done, strictly for aesthetic purposes. So I'd like to start, Todd, if you don't mind, just weighing in on the law and how we may, how we may make our local codes a little more strict to capture some more aesthetic things.
Well, to your point, I don't really think we should do that with respect to aesthetic things. generally at least. Now there may be some specific things that we can do to address, again, some, specific problems that we're having. And I don't know what those problems are. But as you said, I mean, generally any kind of regulation you put in place, you're going to have to tie it back to some public health or safety concern. Now, again, for certain specific problems, a lot of jurisdictions have adopted, parking regulations, for example, or storage of boats and other vehicles, and screening requirements and those types of things. Regulations related to temporary dumpsters on property and those types of things have been incorporated into other cities' ordinances. And I am aware, of course, that some jurisdictions have adopted the property maintenance code, the International Property Maintenance Code, but it's really not any more specific than what I think the town currently has in place. It has some general language about keeping properties in a clean manner, or maintained in a clean manner, but those are so general that I think they would be really difficult to cite anyone over. But maybe where we should start is just for me to understand kind of what the specific problems are, and let's figure out a way if we can address them.
Can I start? I mean, I'll tell you what we have. I understand, and I've not driven by there this week, but I understand that we have kind of a permanent yard sale that goes on somewhere with a tent that is in, it's not really a tent, it's sort of a portable carport type thing that made out of canvas or something that's in bad shape. And then next door, they have someone, and I've not seen it either, that supposedly they're just throwing trash out. And then I've got a call that said now they have a chicken coop in the front yard. I've not driven by. I have not driven by there. And then, but today I did drive by the house behind me, the one that had the couch on the roof. Now there's a refrigerator in the front yard. So I think some of those kinds of things are aesthetic, but they, surely there's some way they could clean them up.
I can understand the refrigerator in the front. It's got tape on the doors. I seen it. I think they're waiting for the landfill down there at the park on 99 to open back up where you throw it away, because there's no place to throw it away right now.
Well, could they wait on it in the backyard?
I'll stop and tell them.
I guess I could.
I'll stop and tell them, put it in the backyard till it opens up. I don't mind doing that, but we can't be telling people what they can take out of the yard and stuff. But I don't mind dropping a hint to them. It looks better in the back than it would right here in the front.
Well, is there anything?
I mean, my thing is, if there's nothing we can put in place to be enforced, then we just let everything, there is no reason to enforce anything. If we can't come up with some type of enforceable codes.
Okay.
I agree. And an eyesore, it's kind of like pornography. I recognize it when I see it. Surely the really, really bad things, somehow we've got to be able to tighten up our rules so that we can do something about it. I'm not talking about, what color you paint your house, but when you have so much stuff, I can't see why it isn't a health hazard with varmints and, stuff. And I thought that was kind of why we were going to have these meetings, so that y'all who know a whole lot more than I do can give us advice on just exactly how we can tighten it up. And if we can't, then we're in a heck of a mess.
We're in a heck of a mess, like on our yards now, Dottie. On our yards, we can't say anything or send a letter to it. It's a foot high. A foot high, you need to cut it and get your baler to a hay off of it. But then on the other hand, DCS told me years back, and I took the man and woman, I had two people from the state come down to me on the house. That trash was through the house from the back of the house all the way through to her bedroom. And in the kitchen, everywhere else. The only thing she had a bath and a bedroom with a microwave, the way they live. And they told me that we cannot do anything with her if an individual wants to live in filth. I call it adult human services. That's what they told me. And whether that's still a fact or not, now I don't know. But that's what they told me. If a woman or a person wants to live in filth, there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, why can't we change our codes so that the grass has to be cut when it's 10 inches? I know that sounds arbitrary, but let's adapt, let's change our codes rather than just saying, oh, okay, well, 12 inches is good, 15 will get by. I'm just ready to tighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna have to happen. You're right.
Like y'all do every week. I'm on mine I done mowed mine 5 times this year. And I'm gonna mow it again tomorrow.
What do we do to Helping Hands down there to get them to move their stuff away that we can't get these other two houses to do? Because I see no difference in Helping Hands except everybody in the world seeing it. These other two people, certain people see it, but it's still there.
Chad, you want to take that one?
Yeah. I simply went down there and just had a conversation with a man, and he agreed to clean it up.
And once again,
there was no action taken.
Yeah,
right. They took care of it.
Right. It's not a situation where we really had something that was enforceable that we could do, which is, what happens most of the time is Chad goes out and talks to people and, gets them to, make something look better without having to go through some type of enforcement, because a lot of times we don't have any enforcement to go through.
Right. I just remember that meeting, they had to come to us and they brought a big memo and a note, and, they have to build a fence and get a barn, and there's just a lot of things they're willing to do. You think maybe we could, we definitely need some codes. We definitely got to get our codes together and put in right that way.
The fence and all that was not anything that they was told they had to do. That was something that they decided.
Volunteer, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that they were in violation of fire codes or something.
Yeah, at one point that got it cleaned up for a while.
Well, can I speak on that?
Yes.
And Matt's not here, so I don't want to. But here's I do know a little bit about that. Fire codes are one of those things that's really subjective in a way. And I'm just going to give you an example. At any point in time, you could probably walk into these stores, especially right now, with them receiving so much produce and everything. You can violate somebody on egresses, and you can violate them on so many different things. It's unbelievable. You probably could walk into any business here or any business in Chapel Hill and violate them on some type of fire code at any specific time, because things change so much. And that's what was going on down there. They had some stuff that would come out on their sidewalk. It'd be sold or it'd be moved. So when you go to and the sidewalk was actually personal property. So it's kind of hinky there also, as far as what you can get them on and what you can't get them on. And I'm sorry if I'm going in circles here. I'm just trying to tie it all in. But basically, yeah, they probably could have been hit with a fire code for having everything on the sidewalk, because they are a business and they were slowing down the flow of traffic just in case something happened. But at the same time, they can take it off that day and turn around and be back the next day. So the better thing to do is to try to work with people as much as you can and make them understand why you need certain things aesthetically to look the way it does. And that's just what I tried to do. And this guy complied, no problem. And once he knew the rules and what we was trying to accomplish. So there's 15 different ways you can go at anything if you want to, honestly. I think with a little bit more oomph behind maybe programs to try to start doing community type activities to help clean up yards and I don't know, just whatever you can come up with to try to help the community out a little bit would probably catch more flies than anything. But
So what you're saying is there's no ordinances that we can put in place to help you to help you clean up.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are some ordinances, like you was mentioning a chicken coop earlier. I think we have an old ordinance that says that you can have them, but they got to be so many feet away from a house and this and that to other. I mean, you can abolish that if you want to. You can do away with it. If I'm correct, is that right, Todd?
Yeah, and that was why I just kind of jotted down the things that you mentioned, Marion, and I feel like, you know, the yard sale, if they've got any sort, one, if they're actually conducting a yard sale on an ongoing basis, that may be a zoning violation. And I don't know if it's the same one. I've heard talk of an ongoing yard sale somewhere in Chapel Hill for years. But if they are doing that, you know, or if they have some sort of a structure on the property, whether it's temporary or a tent or anything else, you know, those kind of things can be addressed. A chicken coop of any sort of structure could be regulated. You could, like Chad said, you could abolish that, or you could make them put it in a rear yard or behind a fence. You know, those are things that you can do. But if you're just talking about dirty lots or
Throwing trash.
it's trash, you know, you can probably regulate that too,
Yeah,
to some
that's a different
extent.
thing.
So, I mean, I think those things are probably things that it could be cited for. Probably even a refrigerator in the front yard is probably a, you know, potential danger that could be cited for. I think you just want to be careful before adopting changes to the code that you don't adopt something that's, one, more than you can enforce, and two, you know, creates some unintended consequences for other people. But I mean, all of these sound like things that could be dealt with one way or the other, but I'm not there to see them. So Chad, you may have some more insight into the specifics.
The refrigerator thing is interesting. If it was just sitting out there by itself, then yeah, there's something we can do about it. But since they took the effort to lock the door on it or to keep it where you can't open it, that's where it gets a little hinky, because what gives us teeth in that code is because it's a health violation. A kid can crawl in it, they can get in it, shut the door, suffocate. It could be dangerous. It's not so much the aesthetic part of it is what it could do. You know, if it was set out there for a long time and a child got in it, and that's what gives us the power to do something about it. You know, so being that they've got it taped up and sitting out there, and like Mr. King said, apparently probably waiting to haul it off, they're actually doing the right thing. I agree. I don't think you should set it in your front yard, but you know, it makes it a little hard to deal with. Look at all aspects of it.
I'd like to add that, you know, I think there are some things that we can write into the code, in particular where it was mentioned about tents and structures that cover things. If there's some things that we could write into the code to further regulate those things, that could help, because, you know, one of the first places that people go when Chad cites somebody for, say, something that's holding water and creating a mosquito problem is they'll cover it up. You know, with a tent or, you know, some type of structure or tarp. So, you know, if we could, you know, further regulate those type things, that might, you know, definitely give us more teeth, you know, or give the people that's, you know, trying to get around it, less outs, you know, when it comes to those sorts of things.
And what's an example of something like that has been an issue?
Well, I can give you an example. The one she's talking about on Miss Joyce is talking about on Nathan Street. I've sent this gentleman several letters, and every time I send him one, like the stagnant water, he had stuff that was sitting all out in the front yard, you know, household furniture and all this. So I can get him on the stagnant water deal. When I send him a letter, he goes puts a 10 over the top of all of it. So it's almost like he knows how to take it right to that edge. And yeah, if we could start doing stuff like looking at that, addressing that, taking tents away, or ability to cover stuff up like that, so I can hit them with another code, then maybe, yeah, it might start helping. I don't know. But
If
like
there
Mark
was,
said, there's several times, you know, you get on somebody about something sitting out that I can enforce, that they will cover it up by any means necessary, which just creates more problems.
and I've been asked several times about, you know, continuous yard sales, and you know, when you dive into that a little bit, if there's no signs advertising a sale, there's no traffic, there's no, you know, nobody parked in the street, nobody walking around in the yard buying stuff, it's hard to legally call it a yard sale, even though that's, you know, what it appears to be. So if there are some things that we can write in there to further specify, you know, some of these things that may help us a little, you know, that would help. I do think there's ways that we can, you know, potentially make some minor changes to the code to just give us a little more teeth. Because what we run into a lot is, you know, some of these very broad rules that we have in place, you know, are pretty easy to get around, I guess is the best way to put it. And you know, what people see, what I see, and I agree with, it's hard to find something that's legally enforceable sometimes in specific situations.
I agree, Marcus. It sounds like Chad's always got to look for something to be able to get him to clean it up. He's always looking for something. We need to fix it where Chad would have it a little bit easier and have a code that says this is it. I don't want to have to try to find something else to force him to get rid of it. We need some codes, and we don't have none. Or we don't have the right ones.
I agree completely on that.
Well, can I say something about that? Sometimes what I do have, other than a code, is I'm armed with the right information. And what I mean by that is a couple of your most egregious situations that are going on with a couple of houses, citizens that live around them, they are I know specific in the deed restricted area. And I know the person that's complaining sometimes does not want to hear this, but they have more power than we do as a municipality. They've entered into a covenant with their neighbors. So they simply could take these people to court and take civil action against them and get something taken care of a lot quicker than we can. So that's also a service that we're providing them too. You know, information to help them with their problem. Sometimes we're not always going to be the one to take care of their problem, but we can lead them to where they need to go to get the problem settled if they really want to. The only issue with that is when you explain that, most of the time, then they're ready to back off. They don't want to take that themselves. They want us to.
And I know that we cannot enforce, you know, those deed restrictions or, you know, homeowners association type rules. I've actually asked, I think I asked Todd one time if we could, because it would be, you know, easier for us sometimes if we, you know, could enforce anything to take care of the problem. But we can't do that.
But Mark, I guess that's what the city is supposed to do for the individuals that are paying the taxes and have us there for. And I do think we need to rewrite some of our codes to help them out. Because some of this stuff, it does go a little bit too far at times. But I don't know if we're talking about a lot. It's just certain individual people keep popping up.
I think in the large scheme of things, we're probably talking about, 5 properties out of 700. So less than 1%, of our properties are actually have major problems consistently. The vast majority of the problems, Chad's taking care of with a phone call or riding by and having a conversation, with a proactive approach to things. So I think that, really what we're looking at is a very small number of problems, but there'll probably be a higher number of these problems as we grow if we don't find a way to, or at least the best way to get our hands wrapped around it.
So I just want to make certain that I understand what I'm hearing. Are you saying that you don't think we need to change anything in our codes?
No, I think that we can. I think that we can, tweak a little something here and there, in particular as it relates to, like structures and tents and things that may cover things from collecting water. I think that there's probably some fence regulations that we should look at. I think that, there's definitely some things that we can add to it to give us more opportunity to, make some things happen. I just think that we got to, always keep in mind that we're trying to get to that place where what we do have in the books, we can enforce and, without worrying about the legality of it.
So Mark or anybody, I guess, is there a way to kind of describe, is there an easy way to describe the primary problems that we see, or are they kind of all over the board?
They're horrible. Would you want any of, if it's the place I'm thinking about, I certainly wouldn't want to live on that street. It takes away the property values of all the other houses. Plus, it's I ran through there barefooted. Of course, I shouldn't be on somebody's property, but there's got, and I love the way Chad handles things on a folksy, nice way. But there has got to be something. We've got too many people who care about their place and take care of it to let a few people ruin the whole neighborhood. And that's pretty much, the place I'm thinking about is an eyesore for the whole neighborhood. So surely there's something we can do to make it less bad.
What are I don't know the property, so what are the issues with it?
Basically, there's all kinds of things sitting all over the property. Front yard, backyard, side yard, under the carport. There's just stuff everywhere.
Just like vehicles, appliances, trash cans. What I mean?
No, it's none of those kinds of stuff.
It's like
My imagination is going wild here. So
Yeah.
It's
It's
like
like
a yard
he goes
sale.
to yard sales and collects stuff
Yes.
and plans at
Right.
some point to have a huge yard sale himself. But he doesn't. The stuff just gathers and gathers and stacks and stacks. I don't know if any of y'all have ever seen the TV show Hoarders. But,
It is going over to the neighbor's house too. They're catching up with him.
Yeah.
oh,
And they're they're the ones that's put the chicken coop in the front yard. So you've got two side by side.
There is a chicken coop there. They putting them in the front yard, but it ain't been there very long. I don't know if they're planning on keeping it there or not. I don't know what they're planning on doing. But there is one there.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the chicken coop that had popped up in the front yard over there.
It's more like a little dog house. It's not very big. It's a cage. It's a
they're
cage.
little chickens.
It's not very big.
Well, I'll go take a look at that. That's probably something that I can more likely take care of. But
That can be moved to backyard very easily.
I mean, I thought there was something about farm animals in our codes already.
There he is.
yeah.
There better be, because I had to move my chickens out of my backyard and I got it fenced in.
Yeah, there he is.
Sorry about that.
I think they have to be 1,000 feet from the neighbor's house or the next property, or can't remember exactly how it's written.
Well, how do we go about, I think we all agree that we need to tighten our codes to, help Chad, help the neighborhood, help the town. Do we go online and find out, read other people's codes? Or Todd, this is actually your territory, to make suggestions to us. What we can do, I'm not wanting to infringe on anybody's rights, but I think it's infringing on the neighbor's rights to have, a total eyesore, if nothing else. It's more than an eyesore.
I think it's a breeding ground for mice and rats and all kinds of bugs.
Well, and I think, once you get to that point, and I know Chad knows this, I mean, once you get to the point where you can establish that it is in fact a breeding ground, for bugs or rodents or whatever, then, you've got something you can cite them for. But, that's not always, there's a line between it being an eyesore and being a health hazard that we have to make sure we're on the right side of. But I think what I can do is, once I kind of understand what the problem is, then, which I'm getting closer, I think, I can look at other codes, see what other cities have done. And there are provisions in other codes as far as where you can put certain items on residential property. And some of those are probably enforceable, and some of those probably go too far. But we can certainly look and see what other cities have done and decide how we want to do it.
I vote for enforceable as opposed to too far.
I do too. I mean, right now what we have is just nothing in the way of enforceable.
Well, like I said, I'll if y'all want to create it, I'll enforce it. It doesn't make me any difference. But I will disagree just a little bit about what we're doing, and go back to what I was saying a while ago. And this is something y'all got to consider also. Like a neighbor that's close to this specific situation that we're talking about, if they decided to take civil action against this person in this neighborhood, and they can take somebody like me or the codes violations that I have sent, that's going to help strengthen their case to take care of this problem themselves. Now, I'm not saying that everybody out there needs to handle their own problems, but there are some specific cases where we have to look at it and determine, do we want to go to that length? Because at some point in time, there's got to be, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion because I'm the one out there enforcing them anyway, but at some point in time, there's got to be a limit to where you're willing to go, as far as I'm concerned. And then after that, it needs to be picked up by the citizen itself, and then we do everything we can do to help them. If anybody wanted to take somebody to court that is deed restricted, and they take the information that I have provided along with them, they'll win hands down, no problem, and can handle things a lot quicker than what we could. If y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but what they're going to do, they're going to spend a whole lot of money in the court system before they do it.
Would they be able to recover court costs?
Yes.
They will, but they got to put it up front first.
I think we need to get some codes in play and try to help them out to some extreme. We don't want to go all the way like Chad's saying, but right now we don't have hardly nothing.
Well, we do. I mean, we do have codes that are enforceable. There's just not a ton of enforceable violations going on out there. Is the thing. And we need to make sure that we're consistent with our actions as far as, if we cite someone on one side of town for some type of danger or, varmint habitat that, we don't have another structure on the other side of town that, you know, is not being enforced the same way. And let me give you the example that I'm mentioning, like at the corner of High Street and Highway 31, you know, where we took that down a path right up to the point whether or not we wanted to condemn it, and you know, we didn't. And that's probably the most dangerous property in town, and it's not even close. So we need to make sure that if we're going to, you know, do something that's, you know, more geared toward an eyesore, that we're also doing what it takes to take care of the actual safety hazards. You know, what the codes are there, you know, there for really in the first place. That's the kind of thing I think that would really, you know, hurt us. Well, it's, you know, one of the kinds of things that would hurt us if we did end up with court, you know, in court with someone is, you know, what are you doing over here when you've got this problem over here?
That's true. That's good, Mark. What about the code for businesses? Do we have codes for businesses? Because I know there's some businesses out there that I think we need to look at having codes for as parking trailer trucks, blocking traffic, viewing sight. We got some complaints about it too. And I'm particularly talking about the Ace Hardware store and a trailer truck that blocks your view, where you have to get out and direct traffic because you can't see around it. It's almost out in the street. About 2 weeks ago, I got video of that I want to show y'all.
Todd, do you want to?
Todd, I know
Yeah,
you mentioned business codes too.
Yeah, you've got a lot more flexibility with and more code provisions. Again, it depends on the specific situation, but you've got a lot more you can do under the zoning code and different provisions with respect to businesses than you do just residential property that's you know, trashy. But yeah, something like blocking, I mean, that's something that I would think they could go ahead and issue a citation for right there if they didn't move the truck.
Well, I think we need to talk to him, because Ace Hardware store had his truck unloading on the side, and the forklift was picking it up, going all the way out into the street to unload it. People were going around him, and when you come out to the street to turn left or right, you'd have to go out halfway in the street just to see what's coming left. It was a mess, and this has happened more than once.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like just a case where he's blocking the right of way and could be moved. So.
Well, can anybody, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but I think that it appears that we all agree that this is, you know, this particular circumstance, and there may be one across town, there may be, 100 of them, I don't know, is for lack of a better word, unacceptable. Both to to everybody. I think if you took a poll, everybody would say that needs to be cleaned up. Okay, so if all of us agree on that matter, what can we do to help Chad get that cleaned up?
I think we need to have our attorney look at what state laws that we can fall under, to look at it, to make sure that we're within the state law grounds of it and fall in on that. If it says we can do that, that's what we need to do.
Thank you,
The
Jay.
state laws that governs this stuff, we got to make sure we're with them on that. We can't be no less than, we be more than that. And so like on your beer laws or anything else you got, we can be the same as them or worse shape. I mean, more penalty to them than what the state does. We just need to don't go below them. Whether the
So
state
would that,
says we can do.
would that fall in Todd's
Yes, ma'am.
area? Well, Todd, get on it,
I will.
please.
Hey, Mark, if y'all could, maybe we could either have another conversation, or maybe y'all could send me some pictures or something else of what we're talking about specifically, it might help figure out how to word it in such a way that, you know, we could enforce it, but not have, you know.
Do we have letters that we've already sent some people of things that we've tried to clean up, and that would give you some idea of things we've been trying to do, plus pictures of other things?
Let's send pictures of this place.
Yeah,
Yes,
that I think.
I have letters and that I have sent and stuff of that nature that I can send. No problem.
I'd like to add one more thing. You know, Chad has done everything I've asked of him for the past nearly 6 years now. You know, when it comes to how these things are interpreted, I'm the one that's always saying, you know, we need to lean on the side of staying out of court and not infringing on people's rights. And, you know, he does the best he can with you know, the direction he's been given by me. And I just wanted to add that.
Well, I'm not after Chad. I'm not after Chad. Don't think I am after Chad. I just want these people who are calling me to have some hope that they're going to be able to drive down their street and not have to look at something.
It ain't got nothing to do with Chad. I just think we need to try to help him to make his job a little bit, knowing he can and what he can't do. Right now, I don't know if I don't want to just think this one person. We're on this one person. We got to look at all Chapel Hill and everything that's coming to Chapel Hill and have some codes that explain things just a little bit better in the detail.
Well, you know, like our new neighborhoods will come in with homeowners associations, and they will take care of themselves as long as those associations are, you know, up and running. And we, you know, these type neighborhoods we shouldn't have too much problem with. You know, it's just we've got these few things that we haven't been able to find a way to sort out. That I think there probably are a couple of tweaks we can make to help us.
But Chad, when you
Yes,
cleaned up the place across the street from me, it was they had old iron beds in the front yard, everything.
Yes, ma'am.
And suddenly they were gone, and I think Chad just went and talked to them.
I did.
Did they just agree to do it because you approached them the right way? What would you have done if they said, no, I like those beds in my front yard?
We'd be right here. You know, at some point in time, like I said, I've done everything that I know to do with what I've got. And I try to use it to the best of my ability. Now, there's 100 different ways you can look at it, and Mr. Moore can look at it, and we can tighten some things up and put in play whatever you want to put in play. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have those certain issues that are going to be problematic. And right now in Chapel Hill that I know of, we've got about, I'm going to say, unless I'm wrong, there's probably 5 or 6 egregious things out there that probably needs a lot of attention. And I've looked at it. And, you know, like I said, I want to draw back on what I said a while ago, and this is just a caveat to all of y'all to make you think. At some point in time, there's got to be a line that you're willing to draw. You can change things all you want to, but at some point in time, you've got to put the power back to the person that can do more with it than what we can as a municipality, because you can't overstep, and especially with deed restricted areas. You know, they have more power than we do. And when we go reinventing the wheel and making different ordinances and tighten them up, that's going to affect everybody in that town, not just this one person. And I'm the type of guy, I'm going to enforce it across the board. I don't care who y'all, or I'm going to try to. If you don't believe that, I can give you, you call me private, I can give you a list of names that I've made mad around there. But that's the only thing I'm asking. I'm just asking y'all to really think about, you know, what you want to do and how you want to do it.
Well, I'm thinking about it, and I know where I want to go with it.
Well,
And-
I can tell you emphatically, because I've checked on it. I'm still having a hard time with the one on Nathan Street, but the one on Forest Fields, I've had a couple of neighbors who I've talked to, and I have done everything I could do that I've got. But
Right.
they also are armed with the knowledge that they are deed restricted there. They can go file a $50, I think, simple civil action against this person, take them to court, have them clean it up. I told them I would help them. I would even come to court with everything I got to help them do it. But they actually have more power than I do.
Yeah.
You think
Well,
about
Todd-
it. Go ahead.
Todd, would just pictures from my phone, you know, from several different angles, would that give you a start, or do you need something more?
Sure. No, in fact, I almost got on Google to see what I could see there. But yeah, anything that kind of just describes for me what we've got to work with.
Okay.
But back to Chad's point, I will, y'all might could assume this without me telling you, but if you've got someone who is just obstinate and that the town has tried to work with to comply, and just, you know, when you tell them they've got an issue and they go and cover it up, even if you change these regulations and go out to enforce it, you sometimes end up with something worse than what you have now, which may be hard to believe. I don't know, but I've seen it over and over again where you go out and they just figure out a way. They make it a game to make it look even worse, but comply with whatever regulations you adopt, whether it's by putting a bunch of flags out there or, you know, Christmas lights or, you know, signs that say things about Mark, you know, then, so, you know, just, you got to think about that as well, I think.
Well, I'll get some pictures to you tomorrow.
Okay.
And you know, to add to that, that's why I try to talk to people as much as I can, you know, instead of just simple letters. If I can call them, I'll call them. If I see them on the street, I'll talk to them. You know, it's always better to try to get people to comply just by talking, kind of like what we did at Helping Hands. You know, he was very easy to talk to once I sat down and described everything. And
Well, that's always the best way. And I
Right.
appreciate that you have that gift that you can BS people and, you know, and make them want to
Well,
do it.
well, I don't know if it's BS, but you know, I gave him the right information, but I just,
Yeah.
people
Well,
just,
I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
But you know, when that doesn't work, then let's give you some tools. So
Right.
as I understand it, first thing, this kind of goes into Todd's court, but we can help him by sending pictures.
yeah. And listen, I'm behind y'all 100%. Whatever you want to do, I will do whatever you want to do. I just was wanting to caution you. We've got
Yeah.
or two or three little 5, 6 problems that you know needs to be handled somehow. I just don't know if reinventing the whole wheel is the answer.
I got you.
Something
But
different.
on the other hand, doing nothing has not been the answer, in my opinion.
Well, that's true. That's true.
And
But-
you've done, I'm not saying you've done nothing, but your hands are tied. You've done all you can possibly do, and you can't
Yeah.
ask for more than that. So maybe it's time for us to help you a little bit.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. I really do appreciate that. But like I said, like the Forest Fields, I personally feel like we've done more than what, you know, most municipalities would do. At some point in time, you know, certain people have to take action to protect their property value. I know me personally, if I was living next to this and I was deed restricted, I'd have these people in court so fast it'd make their head spin. You know, that's me. That's not always somebody else. But when they call us and we exhaust all of our effort, at some point in time, they're going to have to consider that. And that's just my opinion. That's all it is. It's my opinion. And I will help support that as much as I can. And I hate to tell somebody, hey, we've done all we can do. But no matter what you do, we're always going to have a situation to where that conversation is going to be had. I can guarantee you, I don't care how many codes you change, that conversation will be had, is we have done all we can do. And I just want y'all to think about that. That's all. And I'm done.
Well, you're not, I assume you're not suggesting that we do nothing. Am
No,
I
ma'am.
correct?
I'm not suggesting that we do nothing. I'm asking for you to keep in mind that there, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion as a human being, as a taxpayer, at some point in time, there's a line that has to be drawn.
I got you. That's why Todd's gonna keep us out of.
That line is up for y'all to determine. I will enforce whatever you want to enforce. But that line is what y'all need to determine, is how far we're gonna go before we've exhausted our efforts and give the citizen the information that they need to correct the problem. And in one case, I know that the citizen can correct the problem quicker than we can. That's just a simple truth.
But he would rather that the town did it rather than.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. If you ain't got to get your hands dirty and the town can take care of it for you, then it's no problem. But at some point in time, you got to think of that. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I'm thinking about it. I'm ready for some change.
Okay.
We need to change our codes a little bit, and I'm not talking about just one guy. We got to rewrite them just a little bit and tweak them, like Mark said. If you'd been anywhere else, any other city, he would have done something. The code, he would not pass no code.
I'll say this.
I disagree with that.
I disagree
with that.
Well, I disagree
Go
with
to
it too.
Spring Hill.
No, well, you can go to any city, any city in the state, and they can show you at least a few properties in that town that they would say they have done all they can do. And everybody can tell you what properties they are, and the city will tell you we've been around the block with them, several times, and that's all we can do.
I'm not talking about just one individual. I'm talking about grass, weeds, bushes, vehicles. I'm talking about all different things, businesses and parking lots. I'm not talking about this one guy. I know y'all are, but I'm on other codes as well. Yard sales are only allowed certain times of the year. You can't do yard sales but so often.
Yeah, let me say this. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Falconberry, but you can go to Williamson County and I can show you places over there that's exactly like Chapel Hill's got, that is in some cases worse.
In the county or the city limits?
In the city limits, within a stone's throw of $1 million homes.
I want to see them.
Well, I can take you. I guarantee I can take you.
I might even send you a picture of my neighbor's yard.
I mean, this is ongoing battle.
I just remember a couple of years ago, we were meeting and we were going to be upgrading the codes, and I thought there was some information then that we were going to upgrade the codes.
I agree.
Well, we kind of fizzled out for the lack of interest, but I think we've got apparently from tonight's conversation, we've got a lot of interest in it now. And that's how things happen. You got to get people fired up, and Todd willing to do all the work, and Chad and Mark. I can come up with great ideas, and y'all fix it. Y'all make it right. So I think we're on the right track, and I think we're all enthusiastic about this now, when I don't think we necessarily were a year ago.
I think we're on the right track too, but sitting in this seat, I think it's also important to, reinforce the thought that sometimes we can't do exactly what we want to do. Sometimes we don't have the legal right to do exactly what we want to do, and we're not going to be able to. We can improve things, we can make them better, but there's some things that we might want to do that we can't. And I want us to keep that in mind as well, that, things, we'll go through this and make things better. They still may not turn out exactly like everyone wants them to. I don't think that place exists.
But let's try.
I'm with Mark and Chad. I'm not saying change the word just because we don't like it. We need to tweak it a little bit and change a few things, but y'all are still on this one person. I guess I'm just as a whole, we just don't have a lot of codes. Maybe we could use a few more. I don't say you keep your grass down to an inch and put carpet in the front yard. Just everybody likes to live a little different, and we need to allow them to do so far.
Uh, in that charter,
As long
because
as
it
we
kinda
are
all went
trying,
around in it, is that, yeah, I'm for let's try. Have at it, Todd.
Yeah, what I will
Get
say too
to
is, in
work.
addition to
Kansas.
of course, I'll follow up with Mark and Chad too, but if any of y'all have specific things on any property in the town that you have concerns about, just email me what they are, and we'll try to figure out whether, if and how we can incorporate and deal with those issues when we draft it.
Let me ask you another question, Mark and Chad. Maybe y'all know. Does it matter how many complaints a certain individual has? Does it have anything to do with it, or not?
Well, it really doesn't. You know, it's Mark and I, we discussed this at length. Let me ask you this: what exactly? Can you be more specific in what you're
Yeah,
asking?
let's say you had that individual we're talking about, and you've had one complaint, and it's the same complaint. Well, if you had 30 people to complain about it, then
Yeah.
it's a nuisance.
Well, you know, that doesn't make any difference. You know,
Okay.
the complaint. You know, if we get one complaint and somebody, just because we get 30 of them doesn't mean we can do anything any different. Is what I'm trying to
Okay,
say.
I just wonder if it made a difference for you. If you went and looked at it, if one person complained all the time, if you had 30 different people complain about it.
No.
I mean, I know the individual we're talking about, and I haven't complained one time, but I've heard 2 people complain, and that's probably about it.
Yeah, and that specific address, I've addressed what I could twice based off 2 different complaints. You know, like I said, there's only so much I could do with that property that we've discussed about, and if there's anything we can do that I can do to alleviate the problem, I'm good. If it means changing the code, if it means whatever, I'm fine with it.
I understand this, and I'm whatever y'all want to do. I haven't complained, but it is a nuisance. It is. There's no question about it.
I think one thing that we can do, you know, even during this process of looking at stuff, and Chad's been very willing, you know, to do some of this, is we can put together some PSAs to, you know, educate people on, you know, what they're, you know, what they're supposed to do, and maybe try to elicit a little pride in some people and things of that nature, and just get some public service announcements out there that kind of you know, coaches people a little bit on how to go about things. And that, you know, that wouldn't be any kind of enforcement that we were doing, but it would you know, maybe educate and you know, get some people thinking about some things that they should do. If no one has an issue with that, I think that that's something that, like I say, Chad's been very willing to go down that road.
I know at one point we talked about having I don't know what we called it, a day that you could take anything you wanted to the curb and the town would pick it up. And I know we've done that in the past, even since I've been here. But if we could, you know, maybe twice a year, because, you know, people, old women like me, I don't have a pickup truck, but I have a chair in my store barn that needs to find a new home at the dump. You know, if we could organize a town thing like that.
I think as long as that's well controlled, that would be something that would be helpful. But, you know, of course, we wouldn't want people throwing old paint cans and things of that nature out there that we can't, you know, easily dispose of. So if we, you know, maybe put it out there for specific things to be set out there to make sure that we can handle it safely, that would work.
There is a day during the year that they accept those things. And we did have a coordinated effort once to pick those up in
We
Chapel.
did.
They have a day where they take paint cans and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and we could probably get, some other people to help us out with something like that. I don't know what waste management might want to participate in or something like that. But yeah, as long as we specify what is going out there that particular day, I think we'll be okay.
Well, it's just a thought. I mean, it's not something that we could get organized for this weekend, but I thought it was a great idea. I think Jan came up with that idea. And, it helps people out, and it gets people out seeing, what needs cleaning up, old patio furniture that needs to go to the dump, and it'll clean up the town and help people too. I'm not all above, I know I need to shut up about this, but I think we need to service the town. And everybody does a wonderful job of it. Service was not the right word, but the little extras, don't laugh at me.
I'm actually
The
laughing at Tommy
extras
walking
are-
back through the picture there behind Mary.
Oh, I missed that. I'm fixing to go mix cocktails, y'all don't shut up. I'm quiet now, but I think those kind of things make a community spirit and all that if we get people fired up about it. So, goodbye. I move to adjourn. I'm through.
We gotta move.
Maybe everybody ain't through yet, Dottie.
Oh, it's all about me.
But I think it's, as far as we're concerned, employees, Chad and I can get with Todd and work through some things to present to you guys. I think would be our next step.
Super. That works perfectly in my
That's
opinion.
all we want. Something that hopefully we can give Chad that he can work with.
Yes, whatever Chad needs to help him just a little bit. Like he says, he don't want to go too far with it. That's fine. Just a few knick-knack things maybe he could come up with.
Yeah, I was, my next question was, Chad, can you think of anything off the top of your head that you would really like to see some changes in, some tweaking done?
Is codes related or anything else?
Yeah, codes related.
Well,
Well, think about it. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
no, that's
you
all
know-
right. That's all right. This is the only thing I asked. I want you to understand. I try to enforce whatever it is that y'all want, and it's up to you to come up with what you want me to enforce. The only thing I ask is that we all get on some type of page and y'all understand better what I try to do and how I try to do it. Just like when we met back, in February of last year, I explained to you up front, this is what I do and this is how I do it. If you don't like it, I'm up to any change that you want. And so far I've been keeping it steady, doing what I do, how I do it. If you don't like how I do it, tell me what you want. I'm glad to do whatever you want to do. But if I really need anything, it's for everybody to be beating the same drum, to have the same message. And if somebody has a complaint, I just asked you that you send them to me and let me talk to them and let me deal with it. And, that way people are not out there making promises and stuff that we can't keep and anything like that. Because I do realize what we can do and what we can't do. So I just want everybody to be on the same page and beating the same drum. That's all I'm asking. And if we can get there, I guarantee you we can start doing a whole lot for the town, and we can start changing a whole lot for the town through enforcement, through beautification programs, through the sky's the limit. But more importantly, the biggest thing is everybody come together and work on it together. That's the big issue I see. We can't go in three different directions. We need We need one drone.
Do you feel, after this meeting, that we are on the same page and we are ready to work together?
Yes, ma'am.
I feel like this has been a great meeting, and I appreciate y'all setting it up.
Yeah.
It's a great start.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to sit and tell you that I'm not an acquired taste. I am, but I just want everything done right to the best of our abilities, and everybody come together and get as much done for the city.
I feel like we're getting there. That this is a great start.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like disappointing anybody any more than y'all do.
You do.
And if you feel like the citizens are being disappointed, I understand where you're coming from. I feel the same way. But I just want everybody to have a collective message to know that, hey, we're doing the best we can do.
And we're going to do the
message
best we
and what
can
we're
to
spreading.
help.
That's all I'm asking.
All right, now get off my phone.
No, you get off my phone.
I'll get off your phone when I feel like it.
Well,
I had 3 brothers. You can't boss me around.
I'm not bossing you around, but
I do think it's nice to know what's being done so that when we do have complaints that we have an awareness that a problem is being worked on. And if they call us, and I think that's important that we stay informed of what's going on.
yeah,
That's my opinion.
And
I think it's important.
I'm accessible every day between 7 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock. I have my work phone on. You can call me anytime. Email me, whatever you want to do.
And I think it's important that if I get a complaint that clearly is your problem, that I do contact you or Mark or both.
Yeah.
And anytime I've done that, it has been corrected immediately.
Yeah.
So I appreciate all y'all, and I'm
if I can. That's what I'm drawing back to earlier. And nobody in this meeting has done this, but in the past I've had aldermen tell people, "Oh well, I'll take care of it," and then they come to me and I said, "No, there ain't nothing we can do." And then they're mad at me, the people are mad at them, so on and so on. It creates a mess just by making a promise that you can't keep. And that's all I'm saying.
I prefer to tell them I will give it.
That's all I'm asking is refer them to me or refer them to Mark and let us take care of it instead of you putting the burden on yourself, because that starts.
No, I'm not taking
a whole nother deal there.
Right.
That's my only complaint. That's.
Are you happy?
If we can change, I would appreciate it.
I don't take care of any of that.
Ma'am?
I said I don't take care of your job. If I did, we'd have gotten rid of a couch early on, but that's another story.
Let's can't get rid of cats you don't know about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you asked me to be honest. I'm being honest. That's what I need. I need everybody to put support behind me, and let's all push the same message. And if we can do that, we can make a change. I guarantee you. And if we can't, kick me
Chad,
out of the hotel.
I'm all for that, Chad. I don't think we talk enough, to be honest with you. We need to talk more often than once a year or once every so often. We need to get together and talk to you.
Well, I agree. That's why we decided over a year ago to have these little meetings, because it's hard to put in a report what exactly is going on, because there's phone calls and there's Mark and I talk about situations. We talked about situations for hours trying to figure out how to deal with it. And before, I was trying to do a report and it seemed like I was getting beat over the head with it because I wasn't getting enough information. And I can understand that because it's hard to translate into a report. That's why we decided to do the monthly meetings. I was excited about doing that, or the weekly meetings. I was excited about doing that. That way I could talk to everybody one-on-one and y'all can understand what I was doing and understand what you could do to help me. And it just kind of all went bust at that point. Then we went back to the reports thing again, which I'm fine doing. But I'd rather talk to every one of y'all to let
Mark,
you
is
know.
there a way we can do that every so often or figure it out?
You
Maybe
can do a
once every
report in person.
quarter?
Yeah,
I'd be glad to.
Hey, wait, let's hold down just a minute. Let's hold down just a minute. All right, to start with, you work for the city of Chapel Hill. We will try to work with you. We're going to try to get you the reports. Every board member up here now is on this phone or on the computer. you got any pictures of things, send them to our attorney and let us know what situations you got that you want to work out. I'm not going to get a peeing contest with Ovis Computer here. Now, I'm just going to mark myself out of here because I'm not going to listen to this. Is that fair enough?
It is, but on the other hand, I
I'm not
think it's,
sure. I'm not understanding that.
well, I think we're saying, you know, what's past is past. What's now is now. Let's deal with now. And Todd is going to fix it so we can deal with tomorrow. So we can get Tuesday.
No, wait a minute. I don't understand that. What I was simply trying to say is that we started this process over a year ago to talk to each other and figure this thing out. That's all I was trying to say. Y'all asked me a question and I'm answering it. What I'm wanting is to be able to talk to every one of y'all and be able to do what we started to do a year ago.
And I think this has been a
That's all I
great,
was saying. I don't know what that was about.
Mark, y'all, is this the first time we've actually sat down and talked about this, Chad, ain't it? In about a year? With you?
No, Miss Dottie and Miss Dottie Morton and Brian Williams, they come to several meetings and we talked about several different things.
Okay.
This is the first time I've actually talked to, you and Marion or Mr. King or anybody like that about any codes related issues.
I think this has been much more productive than our previous meetings.
I got some.
Okay, you and Chad, y'all.
I'm just saying that this type of thing could be in a meeting when you come up with reports. A report does not have to be on paper. A report can be when you come to one of our meetings once a month and say, this is what I need. This is kind of what I've been doing. I'm not asking for us to have a major report of any kind. It can be put into verbal. It can be put in Mark's report. All I need to know is this is what we're trying to accomplish. And it can be done verbally. It can be done once a month at our meeting. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just need to be better informed. And that's all I'm saying.
Right.
I think that's what we're all trying to get to is a place where we're all better informed and on the same page. And I think that we can. And I think that'll start with us sitting down with our attorney and figuring out what we can do. And Chad, I'm sure, be glad to give an oral report at the meetings or any kind of report. And I think that we can handle all those things. But
I don't even think that has to be every month. I mean, it's just like you come in, this was a busy month and I had to, or this wasn't a busy month. It's just so that we have some idea when people call us that yes, that's been addressed, or no, that's not been addressed, and I'll call him or whatever.
Well, I think it's my responsibility to, ensure at this point that we get to that point where we're all understanding the same thing. And I'll take that on myself, and we'll begin that tomorrow. Like I say, I'm glad that we began the process of getting on the same page about some of this stuff, because I don't think we have been. So, like I say, I take that responsibility on myself to start solving this situation tomorrow, and I think we can come up with something that we're all relatively happy with.
I'm happy.
I move to adjourn and wait for the next meeting.
Second.
That's my job.
It's all
in
vote.
favor?
Thank y'all all very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Art for getting all together, even if
How to
it's.
get out of here.